UFC Fight Night 187, aka UFC Vegas 21. Leon Edwards versus Belal. Remember the name Muhammad. Boxing MMA picks. We are back here to discuss the main card. We've already had conversations about the prelims. Definitely want to check out that video on our page. And again, do all that good stuff, man. Like, rate, comment, subscribe. Definitely want to get that notification going as to when our videos drop, because you're going to want some insights. You're going to want some insights before making your bets. Of course, again, like I said, boxing MMA picks. I go by the name of Harris. He goes by the name of Zan, and we are here to give you our UFC breakdown, UFC analysis, let you know which fights are worth the bet, which fights you want to completely avoid, and which underdog picks perhaps are some good value. And we might even give you a parlay play at the end, so you definitely want to stick around until the end of this video. Like I said, we've talked about the prelims already. The main card presents us with 7 fights. Let's get right into fight number 1 in that case. So let's talk about Eryk Anders versus Darren Stewart. I won't spend too much time on this one. I think this fight stays on the feet. I think Darren Stewart's the better striker. I think Darren Stewart is a bit faster, a bit more technical. I don't think this is going to be a high-paced fight, so I don't see cardio specifically being an issue for Darren Stewart. And I just think Darren Stewart is the smarter striker as well, right? I mean, we look at Eryk Anders. He's 2-4 in his last 6 fights. He's a southpaw. He's not really the fastest fighter by any means. Doesn't have the fastest hands. Not the fastest fighter in general. He does have that sort of one pop power though, right? So you always want to be aware of that, especially as we move up in weight class. Yes, this is only at middleweight, but nonetheless, both of these guys still possess that sort of one-shot power. And I have seen a lot of cardio concerns out of Eryk Anders, so that's something that I'm really going to be paying attention to in this fight. Darren Stewart, the boxing is clean, it's crisp. He's a pretty good counter striker. And he can hug you against the cage all day, Holly Holm style, right, if needed. And also, what I noticed about Darren Stewart as well, he can dish it just as good as he can take it. I mean, you saw that in the Kevin Holland fight. Yes, Kevin Holland won that fight, but those two guys were really going at each other. So that gives me a little bit of confidence when it comes to his chin. Like I said, I feel good about Darren Stewart on this one all the way. I don't particularly have a reason as to why Eryk Anders would win this fight. So when I see minus 180, I say this is some good stuff. So I'm going with Darren Stewart on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna be straight to the point on this fight. I got Darren Stewart. I think he's just slightly better. I think not slightly. In some areas, he's much better. So he's a much better striker. I actually think he has better wrestling than Anders. Anders, obviously, he's a football player. And he fights like
Your audio check. Let's get an audio check. Your audio is a little bad there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better now.
Okay. So let me begin it over. Let me start over. So I'm going Darren Stewart. I just think he's better everywhere. I think he's way better in the stand-up area. And I really think he has better wrestling as well. And Eryk Anders, as we know, came from football, and he doesn't have the best wrestling. He really just rushes you, but he has a real, like, he's in really good shape. Like he has the athleticism. He's stronger. This guy's a strong guy, one of the stronger guys in the division. But when it comes to UFC, when it comes to fighting, strength doesn't win the fight all the time. And in this fight, he's going to be eating a lot of punches. And if he doesn't get a one-punch KO and one-punch hurt Stewart and get Stewart on the ground, Stewart likely is going to win this fight because he is the better stand-up guy, the better grappler. If he avoids that big shot, this is I think Darren Stewart's going to win this fight, because if you really think about it, he's been in the ring, Darren Stewart, with a lot of fighters, and he's never been knocked out. Never. He's lost split to Kevin Hall at a fight that was close, but I think Kevin won that, but it was close. And Kevin's a solid fighter that would beat Anders. He lost to Bartosz Fabinski, who pretty much wrestled him the whole fight. And Bartosz Fabinski is a really good wrestler. Edmund Shabazian, split decision. And then he lost to Julian, Carl, and Barroso. None of these guys could finish him by knockout. So I think that Darren can take the shots, and his only path to win is by KO, and Darren has a good chin. So I'm going to go with Darren Stewart. That should win this by decision, by knockout, by submission. I just think he's better in all those areas.
Yeah, I really like the value there at minus 180. Let's move on to fight number 2. In that case, we have Manel Kape versus Matheus Nicolau. How do you feel about this one?
Okay, this is actually my favorite fight on the card. Manel Kape lost versus Pantoja, a fight that Manel Kape thought he won, but I watched that fight, and it was a fair decision. I thought Pantoja did more. I thought Kape was watching a lot. He wasn't active enough with his strikes, and it was pretty much tit for tat, and that's pretty much what Pantoja did. So Pantoja was able to win a unanimous decision. But when you look at Matheus Nicolau, he's not that far away from Pantoja. He's been in the UFC for years. People might not know about him because he was out of the UFC. I think he got flagged for some type of drug or something, for a steroid, some type of steroid. I don't know what it is. I think it was a performance enhancement infraction. But this guy's a solid fighter. This guy, he lost to Dustin Lopez. Dustin Lopez has been beating a lot of people, even Pantoja. When he was in the UFC, Dustin Lopez was a solid fighter in his weight class. He lost to Delano Lopez, and that's another fighter that he fought. He only had 10 fights in on the Ultimate Fighter, and Delano Lopez had like 20 fights. So obviously, and that was a really good fight. But when you look at Matheus Nicolau, you're looking at a fighter that has jiu-jitsu. I believe he has a black belt. I'm guessing just because of the stuff that he does. And in this fight, I believe that he's gonna have the ground advantage. If he can get this to the mat, he has the ability, and he's a finisher. Now, when it comes to the stand-up, I actually give Matheus the striking advantage as well. I really love his boxing. He throws a 1-2 kick, but he's more or less a boxer. He throws a lot of boxing combos. There's a really good hook, left and right hook. I think this is a fight that he should win. I give Kape the athleticism. I give Kape the name, but I think Matheus is technically a better fighter here. And I think that if this stays standing, it's up to Matheus. If this stays standing, because I don't think Kape's going to take this to the ground, because Matheus is dangerous off his back. And if this stays standing, I think Matheus has better boxing. He throws combos. He throws combinations where Manel's throwing a 1 shot or a 2, right? So, and Matheus is throwing 3, 4, 5, and then. So I like Matheus here. I think he's a better stand-up fighter. I think he's a better ground guy. I think he's similar to Pantoja, and I think we're going to see a similar fight. But I just think Nicolau has a bit more power than Pantoja, and I believe Nicolau is a bit more explosive striker. So I got Matheus here in a similar fight to the Pantoja fight.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a real good fight in the stand-up. To your point, this is probably going to be, I'm not going to say fight of the night, but this is definitely going to be one of the better fights on the card. And it's interesting, right? It's interesting with Nicolau, because he does have that. He is a bit more crisp. He is a bit more technical. I feel he offers a bit more. Manel Kape, you saw in that Pantoja fight, round 1, he kind of fell in love with kind of just watching 1 shot at a time. Round 2, he showed a little bit more in terms of activity. But someone like Nicolau kind of just has that activity at all times. And to your point, I think Kape is getting some name respect on this one. This is going to be one of those fights that I'm going to pay a lot of attention to throughout fight week. I want to see it, all the way up to the ring walk at this point. I'm going to just echo the comments you made about Nicolau. I do like Nicolau as a straight-up bet here, especially as a plus 120 underdog. But I think it's really going to depend on all the way up until the ring walk who I feel better about this one. But again, for the sake of boxing MMA picks and making a pick, I'm going to also echo Matheus Nicolau on this one as an underdog. Let's move on to fight number 3. A fight that was supposed to happen last week or the week before. We have Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoder. This is their second fight. I can't actually remember if we reviewed it the first time around, or I should say when this fight was supposed to happen. I don't recall if we actually reviewed it or not, but you know what? I just went ahead and grabbed my notes from that time. So in their first fight in 2017, I mean, Angela Hill, she won a decision. It was a unanimous decision. She had better speed. She had better movement. Yoder was able to take her down, but she was not able to keep her down. Yoder had some ground game and grapple opportunities, but she didn't really do much with it. And Hill was able to get on top of her and show her advantage when she's on top with some ground and pound, of course, before getting back to the feet. Angela Hill, I mean, she showed me a better clinch in that fight. We know she's a Muay Thai fighter. We know she's a two-time North American champion. She showed me the better stand-up. She showed me the control of the center of the octagon. She showed me better defense. She showed me ability to keep the fight on the feet. And she showed me better cardio in that fight, right? So with Angela Hill, I mean, I'll just kind of cut it off at this point. I think she's going to win this fight. She's on a 2-fight losing streak. She's looking to save her job. Yeah, this is a drop in level of competition for her compared to who she's been fighting. Angela Hill pretty easily in this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we got a good fight, a good rematch. Both fighters had a really good win. The Miranda Granger win for the Yoder fight was really good. Angela Hill obviously lost her last 2 fights, but those last 2 fights versus Waterson and Gedalia, she arguably won those fights. I actually had her winning both of those fights. So in my opinion, she's on a 5-fight winning streak. So they're both looking good coming into this fight. They both have shown that they have improved from their last fight. In her last fight, Yoder got 3 takedowns. Angela Hill eventually got a takedown on Yoder as well. I see this fight going pretty much the same way, but I think Hill improved a lot more than Yoder did. Her stand-up is way better. She's beating fighters like Lokun Bunmi. She really beat Gedalia. She really beat Waterson. So she's beating high-level fighters. And Yoder hasn't fought anyone on that level. So I'm going to go with Angela Hill doing the same thing as she did in the previous fight, being the better striker. And I think she's going to mix it up. I think she might even get Yoder on the ground again. So I see Angela Hill improving at a high level lately. She's taking this more serious. And I think the UFC has given her a win here. So I'm going to go Angela Hill to win this fight.
Yeah, I wish the odds were a little bit better, but I mean, at minus 370, I just can't find a reason for her to lose. So she is probably one of my favorite picks on this card, just in terms of picking a winner, right?
Yeah, I think you can feel comfortable with this one, like as far as a definitely.
Let's move on to fight number 4. We went from comfortable to uncomfortable. We have Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker. I mean, these are both really solid fighters, right? I mean, both fighters that can kind of do everything. We know that, Gavin Tucker has that decent stand-up. We know that he has that decent ground game as well. And we know that he's going to try to take the fight to the ground. Let's take a look at his numbers. One takedown per round. So he's definitely going to look for that. What's interesting with Dan Ige is that although he's not the most active grappler, takedown specialist, wrestler, what have you, he wrestled, right? I mean, NCAA Division III, he wrestled. BJJ, he has a black belt. Judo, he has a brown belt. So he is very accomplished when it comes to taking the fight to the ground or what he can do on the ground. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic, because in the UFC, we've seen Gavin Tucker kind of go for it a little bit more. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can land that on Dan Ige. 60% takedown defense, not amazing per se, but let's see what happens in this fight. Nonetheless, I mean, I think this is going to be a very highly skilled fight. This one, I almost don't know which way to go. I think on one hand, I can see Tucker kind of being the physically stronger guy, but on the other hand, I can see Dan Ige kind of showing that there is levels to this. He has faced a better competition without a doubt. I mean, his last fight was versus Calvin Kattar, and obviously Kattar just lost to Max Holloway in terms of a title shot. Whereas Gavin Tucker, I mean, you take a look at his resume, his best win is probably, I don't know, you tell me, right? So it's definitely not of the same caliber of competition, and that could play a factor here. That could play a really big factor here. It's tough. Again, this one's tough. This is another one of those fights I'm going to want to pay attention to all the way up into the ring walk. For now, I'm going to bank on the guy that just has maybe some better fights on his resume and maybe potentially showing that there is levels to this. And that is going to be Dan Ige. I think, again, he has those accomplishments with grappling, with wrestling to potentially nullify what could be a big advantage for Gavin Tucker. And I think that Dan Ige, I'm not going to say has the advantage on the feet, but definitely can have some moments on the feet, especially later on in the fight. I'm going Dan Ige, but this one is very close.
Yeah, I'm going Dan Ige. I like Dan Ige in this spot. If you really look at who he lost to, Julio Arce and Calvin Kattar, and he's beaten everybody else. He lost one a long time ago as well, but recently. So he's only lost to boxers. And I don't think Tucker's on the level of Kattar with the boxing or Arce. And if you want to talk about strikers, he dealt with Edson Barboza. So I think he's ready for Gavin Tucker. I'm not sure if Gavin Tucker's ready for Ige. When you look at who Gavin Tucker beat, not even close, right? So I'm going to go Dan Ige here. He's fought the much better guys. I think when it goes to the ground, I think Ige actually is going to be the more technical grappler. Yeah, I agree Tucker could be the stronger guy, but I don't think that's going to matter here because Ige is one of the smartest top 3 fighters on the UFC roster when it comes to fighter IQ. This guy knows how to win rounds. When it gets tight, when it gets sticky, this guy knows how to pull it out. So I'm going to go Dan Ige here to win a decision.
Yeah, definitely. And I do like that decision pick specifically as well. Barring any huge difference in what weigh-in looks like or what the ring walk looks like, I do really like Dan Ige at -130 here. I think he's presenting some really good value. And to your point, better competition. He's ready for Tucker. Is Tucker ready for him? Is question marks, right? So Dan Ige is a pretty decent pick, pretty value for money type of pick in this fight. But definitely going to be a good fight nonetheless. And again, one of the better fights on the card for sure. Let's move on to fight number 5. Probably one of the least entertaining fights on the card, depending on how you feel. We have Ben Rothwell versus Philipe Lins. Heavyweight beware on this one. It's kind of even hard to even give too much insight and analysis on this one. Ben Rothwell, he comes forward at all times. Philipe Lins, I mean, he's smaller for the division. We see him weighing in at 234 in his last fight. I really don't have much insight here. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go with Rothwell. I don't think Lins can hurt him. I think Lins has opportunities where he looks okay early in the fight, but then he finds a way to just not win it, right? So I look for Ben Rothwell to kind of just march through whatever Lins has to offer, and Lins perhaps not being able to handle that type of pressure, that type of continuous pressure that Ben Rothwell puts on you. But I don't feel confident really in either fighter. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I think this fight's going to come down to Ben Rothwell is much bigger than Lins. That's a big factor in this fight. And Ben Rothwell hasn't been knocked out since 2009. He's only been knocked out 2 times in his whole career to Cain Velasquez and Andrei Arlovsky. And this guy he's fought 51 times. So he can take a shot, right? So we know that this guy can take a shot. And the guys that knocked him out, he got knocked out by Arlovsky in 2008 or 2009, but that's 2008 or 2009 Arlovsky. That's not 2020 Arlovsky. It's a different Arlovsky, right? So, and Cain Velasquez, come on now. He was like, who wasn't getting knocked out when they faced that guy? On the ground or on the feet, right? So this guy hasn't been knocked out since, and he's fighting hard punchers. He's fighting Mark Hunt, Junior Dos Santos, Blagoy Ivanov, Arlovsky again, in a fight that I thought he won. Oven St. Preux, Marcin Tybura. So he's fighting guys. He's fighting guys that finish guys. And Philipe Lins, I don't think Philipe Lins can win a decision here. I think if this fight went to a 3-round decision, I think Ben Rothwell would be the pick for a 3-round decision. I think the only way Lins wins is by knockout. And he hasn't been looking good. He got finished by Bozer. He lost to Arlovsky. Man, I'm gonna go with Philipe Lins here. But he does have that puncher's chance. Even though Rothwell has been knocked out since 2009, I believe that's his only way to win this fight is if he knocks him out, because I don't think he has the best cardio. And we've seen Rothwell go 3 rounds many times. Even if he doesn't have the best cardio, even if he's tired, he's still able to continue and throw punches. And that's his experience. That's credit to his experience. So this is going to be a good fight, close fight. I'm going to echo you. I like Ben Rothwell in the spot. There's only a narrow path for Lynn to win this. So I'm going to go with Ben Rothwell here.
Sounds good. All right, so let's move on to our co-main event. I never thought this would be the co-main event, but here we are. We have Misha Cirkunov versus Ryan Spann. Tell me how you feel about this one.
Man, I'll tell you right now, Ryan Spann, I don't trust that guy. I'll never trust this guy. This guy, they call him Superman. That's his nickname, Ryan Superman Spann. I don't believe it, because that Johnny Walker fight, man, he was winning that fight too. And then he just got finished. And then he was winning that fight he beat Sam Alvey, but that fight was so close. You know what I'm saying? So and he beat Rogerio Nogueira, the Nogueira twin. But he was like 50 at that point. So I'm not sold on this guy. And he had a war with Luis Henrique, who had really good spots in that fight. Man, I'll tell you right now, Cirkunov should win this fight. He's a better grappler. He has really good scrambles. He should be able to hold his own in the stand-up. And one thing about Cirkunov is that he's a finisher. He's going to try to, if he gets him on the ground, he's going to try to go for the finish. So I like Cirkunov here. I think he's the better fighter. I think he's more skilled here. I think we're looking at a fighter that's the better stand-up. The better grappling. I believe Spann has the better stand-up. But Spann is so sloppy that he doesn't know how to use his advantages. He's not able to take advantage of that stand-up advantage that he has, because he's going to get taken to the ground. And Spann has terrible scrambles. So if there's any scrambling going on, I can see Cirkunov ending up on top. So I really like Cirkunov in this spot. I think Spann definitely could win this fight, being more athletic. But I think that, not more athletic, being more bigger, being the more harder hitter. But I think Cirkunov here has a big ground game advantage, and I think he's smart on the ground. I think people underestimate him on the ground, and I think people don't even talk about how good he is. When you see what he does, once he gets you on the ground, he gets in dominant position and finishes the fight. That's really good stuff. So I like Cirkunov in this spot, and I think he's going to finish Spann.
Yeah, I think him to finish Spann is definitely a great option in terms of the way that this fight can go. I'll keep it short. I'll echo the exact same messages that you said. Although I do think Spann is the better striker, I just don't see it from him. I can't trust that style. I mean, that fight versus Sam Alvey was very messy, in a fight that I feel like he should have dominated. I really feel that way. So, I mean, his striking is kind of unreliable. I don't think he stays active enough. Although he, has the better striking. Like we saw, he had it versus Johnny Walker until Johnny Walker finished him. But to your point, I mean, Misha Cirkunov, his stand-up is serviceable enough to take this fight to the ground. Spann as well, in his own right, he's going to go for takedowns in his own right. So I think if this fight finds its way to the ground, Cirkunov has a big advantage here. I think it will find its way to the ground. I see a head and arm triangle happening. Misha Cirkunov is my pick as well, minus 135. Some decent odds, but obviously the higher the weight you go, the more question marks you enter in terms of one fighter ending it at any time. That could happen here, but the way that we're breaking this fight down, the way that we're analyzing it, I like the tools that Misha Cirkunov has to pull this one out. In that case, let's go on to our main event. We have Leon Edwards versus Belal, remember the name, Muhammad. Why don't you take this one off?
Okay, we got a really tough fight, because when you look at Belal Muhammad, his improvements as a fighter, he's lost in the UFC. He's lost to Alan Jouban. So he started off losing to fighters at Alan Jouban's level in 2016. And then he started losing to fighters like Vicente Luque. Then he went on a wicked streak. Randy Brown, Jordan Main, Tim Means, chance for counter. And then he met Jeff Neal, a higher level fighter than Vicente Luque. And then he got another loss. And now he's on another streak. Curtis Millender, Takashi Sato, Lyman Good, Diego Lima. So now he's facing a fighter that's higher level than Jeff Neal. And he has made big improvements in his game. Like his striking is much better. That's the biggest improvement I've seen in this guy. But in this fight, I think he's gonna have a real hard time because he's fighting a guy that has only lost to Kamaru Usman, and then he lost to Claudio Silva. And Claudio Silva, that was a split decision. And Claudio Silva at that time, and Leon Edwards was pretty young, was a hard matchup at the time, but it was still a split decision, right? So Leon Edwards knows how to win fights. In my opinion, when you look at the welterweight division, there's 4 guys in that division, in my opinion. I call them the 4 horsemen. We got Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, and Gilbert Burns, and Leon Edwards. I believe those 4 guys are on a next level than the next group of guys. I believe Wonder Boy could beat anybody on any given night because I believe his stand-up level is so good. But forget that. What I'm trying to get at is Belal Muhammad, as good as he is, as much as I like him, he's one of my favorite fighters. I think this is too far. I don't think he's ready for this fight. I think he should have took an easier fight like Michael Chiesa or, like Jorge Masvidal or Tyron Woodley. I think this is too hard of a fight. And I think that Leon Edwards here is going to have the stand-up advantage. I think he's going to have the wrestling advantage. So I think he's going to be able to dictate the fight. And I don't think that's going to look good for Belal. So I'm going to go with Leon Edwards here. My only concern with Leon Edwards is that he's been out of competition for such a long time. That's my only concern. If he comes into this, how he looked in his last fight, he should win this fight. He should be able to move around. He should be able to outstrike him. He has better footwork. However, Belal can catch anybody. Belal is coming in with a well-rounded game. But I still think Leon Edwards is a bit better everywhere. So I'm going to go Leon Edwards to win this fight.
Yeah, this is a tough one here. This is definitely a tough one. I do agree in terms of, Leon Edwards just kind of being at that next level. I mean, we've seen him face quality opponents and beat quality opponents, right? I mean, you saw him beat RDA, Gunnar Nelson, Cerrone. Like you can run the names and really see the run that he's put together with his winning streak that he has going on. And I mean, this fight's real interesting though, right? I mean, we saw Muhammad, like I said in our prelim video, Muhammad stepped up to the plate. He fought last month, he won, and then after Khamzat Chimaev dropped out, he put his name up. He wants to obviously get that respect on his name, and he's made that comment. He says he feels that Leon Edwards has not faced anyone to his caliber. So he definitely has that confidence about him, and he wants to be in that, maybe not 4 horsemen per se, but he wants to be considered, a legitimate contender in this division. And he feels to be the best, you got to beat the best, right? So you definitely got to give it to him for wanting to step up in competition. Now, it's interesting because while I do agree that Edwards may be the better striker, I do feel like Belal Muhammad could be the more effective striker with his improved boxing. Because one thing that borderline frustrates me about Leon Edwards, I feel like he could be a little bit more active, right? 2.5 strikes landed per minute. And even with a good wrestling game or good shoots for takedown attempts, he only averages less than 1.5 takedowns per fight. So he presents a lot of advantages, but I feel he's, I don't want to say too methodical, but I feel like he still has another layer to him or another level to him that he can reach. In the current level that I've seen from Leon Edwards, despite me liking a lot from what I've seen from him, I actually do see a path here for Belal Muhammad. I see both fighters kind of stalemating each other with wrestling attempts or grappling attempts. I mean, Belal Muhammad has 84% takedown defense. Leon Edwards in his own right has 70% takedown defense. So for the most part, I don't think these fighters will be able to get each other down. They're both BJJ purple belts, so they are technically just as experienced as one another in terms of any sort of grappling exchanges. And when it comes to the striking, it might be the activity. It might just come down to the activity. It might come down to Belal having slightly more active hands. Um, it's hard for me to say I see Belal winning this fight, but when I see minus 260 on the side of Leon Edwards for a fighter that has not fought in 19 months, does he look like a rusty fighter or does he come out like Brian Ortega? It's hard to say, right? So you get somewhat of that question mark effect on a fighter that has been out this long. Um, it's tough. Again, this one's really tough. I see both fighters potentially winning. I see both fighters having a path to victory. What I will say is that I'm going to go with kind of my gut on this one. I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going Belal Muhammad on this. I think it could be close, but to your point, I think we could very quickly find out that there is levels and Leon Edwards is on a different level than Belal. But with how inactive Leon Edwards has been, I think I got to go Belal Muhammad on this one.
I like that. But I missed something too. One thing I'll give Belal Muhammad is I think he has the cardio advantage. Like I never seen this guy tired in any fight that he's had. So that's one thing that I missed. And another thing that I missed is that when Belal Muhammad fought Lima in his last fight, he was getting torn up with leg kicks. He won the fight, but Leon Edwards throws a leg kick. So those are two things I missed. So Belal better be watching out for those leg kicks, and Leon better have cardio because Belal can go 10 rounds. So I believe definitely he has a path here. So yeah, but I'm gonna go Leon. I just think there's levels, and that's my pick there.
Yeah, and if you watch that Belal versus Diego Lima fight, you'll see that Belal wasn't even checking them. He was just taking them on, still coming forward. Good poker face, or hey, I don't know. It resulted in a win, right? So yeah, I mean, again, some question marks on the side of Leon Edwards to me. The cardio, the 19-month layoff. But to your point, he's a more dynamic striker, and those leg kicks could really be a problem for Belal Muhammad. But let's take this one to Vegas. Let's consider the entire card at this point. Do you have an underdog pick of the entire card, or a couple of underdog picks? Which way do you want to go?
Yeah, underdog. I like Matheus Nicolau. I'm putting money on that fight, 100%.
Where is that one? Yeah, at plus 125. Any other underdogs you're taking a look at, or that's probably the one?
Man, underdog wise, that's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. Underdog for me. Let's just take a quick look here and make a decision. I like. Yeah, I mean, I don't really love any of these underdogs here, but I am again going to go with a bit of a gut check here, and I'm going to go with Courtney Casey as my underdog pick. Why don't we give him a parlay in that case? I got a few fights to offer. I will offer up. Again, I like Jonathan Martinez. I like Darren Stewart a lot. And Angela Hill. And I'll probably keep it at those three. I mean, we spoke about Rani Yahya in the prelims, but I don't want to get too greedy on that. So if we stick to those three fights, Jonathan Martinez, Darren Stewart, Angela Hill, $100 will return $256. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return $640. I like those three fights there. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to bank on Jonathan Martinez. I'm going to bank on Matheus Nicolau.
Okay.
I'm telling you guys. This guy's going to give Manel Kape problems, and that's a dog. So I like that guy. I think he should be favorite. And last pick on this one, I'm gonna go Leon Edwards.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. 3 fights plus 309, real juicy on that. $100 will return 409. For our bigger betters, $250 will return 4 figures. You get $1,000 23 return on that. So definitely some good value. This is a potentially a tricky card, but of course, let us know how you feel in the comments. Let us know which fights you want some additional assistance on. Let us know how you feel about the main event. Let us know who your underdog picks are. Let us know who your favorite picks are. Of course, do all that good algorithmic stuff to help us out. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, share with your friends, share with anyone that you know that needs UFC analysis. We are here to provide that for them. Let's try to get this one, man. Hopefully we can repeat our efforts of last week and have a pretty solid showing on this card as well. Boxing MMA picks. I go by the name of Harris. He goes by the name of Zan. This is UFC Fight Night 187, aka UFC Vegas 21. Leon Edwards versus Belal. Remember the name Muhammad. Let's get this money.
Let's do it.